Welcome to Lacrosse Recruiting 101, where the biggest names in lacrosse share their inside views and expertise. Now, your host, Luke Cometti.
In this episode of the podcast, we talk with Dwayne Stewart, who was hired to start and be the head coach of the State University of New York at New Paltz program. Dwayne walks us through what he focuses on as he gets the SUNY New Paltz program off the ground and how he's able to recruit players to be a part of a program that doesn't exist yet. He also talks about how his high school coaching experience helps him relate to the players he's recruiting, and also kind of what he looks for in high school players that will be a good fit for his program. Like always, if I missed something or there's something you would like to see on the next podcast, then please email us at questions@lacrosserecruiting101.com or tweet at our Twitter handle @LaxRecruit101. Thanks for tuning in. Coach Dwayne Stewart, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm happy to do this with you and catch up a little bit.
Absolutely. We did catch up a few weeks ago up at Lake Placid. I spotted you across the field, and I'm like, wow, Dwayne has not changed a bit since Albany, man. You're still at your playing weight, huh?
Yeah, I'm at playing weight. Wish I could gain some weight, but I think that's I think that's out of the picture now. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay with this for the rest of my life, hopefully.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. So you're at the State University of New York at New Paltz. They hired you last summer. You've been there over a year, and you have yet to step on the field, correct?
Yeah, man. We actually get fall ball going tomorrow. We start out in the gym, in the weight room at 6 a.m., so my boys will be up bright and early. And then we hit the field at 7 a.m. and get on the field and, try to see what we have going into the spring. So everybody's pretty excited about it, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and the reason why you haven't stepped on the field is because spring 2020 will be your inaugural season. And so you've spent the last year essentially putting together a program.
Yeah, just the biggest thing was, getting in front of people, going to different events and talking with club coaches and high school coaches and, trying to build relationships because I think that's very important in the process. So last year, just sat in front of my computer the whole time and just reaching out to people. And, we got some kids this year that could help out. We just got to see what we have tomorrow when we really get going.
Why don't you walk us through a couple of those conversations? How do those go when you're talking to a player or a parent about coming to a program that is yet to exist?
So it's more about, preaching my vision and what I see for the program moving forward. Still in the academics because we're a Division III school. Everything is academically driven. So, I put high priority over, class time and doing the right things and, studying and, a lot of that will transition to field play, so my conversations with families, with athletes, with whoever is interested in our program is, hey, listen, we're starting from absolutely nothing. We're looking for trailblazers. We're looking for kids who take the academics serious because this game is all IQ based. If you got everything together in the classroom, usually you see success on the field. And because it's, because a lot of people in the Northeast region understands that lacrosse is all IQ. Like, you don't have to have the dominant athletes in order to be successful. They buy into the whole, if we are on top of our academics, everything from a field standpoint will take care of itself because, if there's less distractions from, getting everything done the right way off the field, things on the field will take care of itself.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to preach as a player, and I tell my high school kids this too. You're only going to see so much success on the field, as a player, if you're just concentrating on lacrosse, but everything else in your life, your personal life or your schoolwork is down the tubes, you're going to cap out pretty quickly on the lacrosse field. In order to raise yourself as a whole, that's only going to make every aspect of your life better. And I'm sure that's kind of similar to what you're telling your parents and players as they're interested in New Paltz.
For sure. There's a lot of distractions as a college athlete. There's a there's the studying aspect, trying to time manage properly. There's, trying to find your way, especially with a big group of freshmen that we have with no leaders really. They have to find their own way. I can't do it for them. I'm not living with them in their dorm. So like, it's hard for me to kind of help guide them in that process, then finding, good eating habits, what times get into the cafeteria and eat between all the different things that you have going on. A lot of distractions for these kids, so, what I try to do more than anything is kind of make sure everything is sound academically. So when other things do come about, they're not worried about, a test or a quiz or a writing assignment. At least they have that covered. And that's where a lot of their confidence comes from. So if they dominate in the classroom, usually everything kind of takes care of itself. And, that's my plan. That's my hope, at least. And finding the right kids who are going to do the right things over and over again.
Yep. What are some of the biggest hesitations from a player interested in New Paltz over the past year?
I want to say just having a program with no history. They don't know what to expect from the coaching staff. They don't really understand what goes on at the school because it doesn't have any lacrosse background, so they don't have other people to kind of piggyback off of and ask questions about the university. Honestly, I think that would be the biggest hesitation for any kid, especially like I said, being in the Northeast region. These kids want to go to really strong athletic schools and academic schools, and there's a bunch of them. So they have many options, especially if they're good students. So I'd see that would be the only hesitation, trying to be a part of something special and not just be a part of something to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, there's no history, but they have a chance to create history at that program, being the first class to come through, or the first team to come through, and that can be special as well.
Yeah, exactly. I've already built the program up as an assistant coach, and we were able to do great things at the Division II level. Kind of having the same, layout or the same space that I'm trying to build here. I think I could do the same thing as a head coach. So that's the plan. That's the hope, at least.
So I like to ask this question too. Outside of lacrosse, what does New Paltz bring to the table, academically and socially? Because a player may come into New Paltz with every intention of playing 4 years of college lacrosse. However, injuries happen. He may lose the love of the game. Things happen where you end up, maybe not playing lacrosse your whole time in college. And obviously, it's a lot easier to stay at a 4-year college and finish out than it is to transfer. So, what are some of the selling points for like a non-athlete that's going to New Paltz?
Well, being a state school, we had the state, price tag, so that's appealing. A lot of our students are coming from Long Island, the Syracuse area, Albany. So we're within 2 hours of a bunch of major cities. Our academics rank, in the top in the Northeast region of the area. So we have a great school for business. We're accredited by the Association to Advanced Collegiate Schools of Business. There's less than 5% of schools in the entire world with that accreditation. We also have a 4+1 program attached to that. So in 5 years, our students are leaving with their masters. Our education program has been one of the strongest, in the country. We get a lot of students that are very interested in that. We also have a master's program attached to that. Our STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math is one of the strongest as well. And these are all male dominant. Not so much teaching, but they're male-dominant professions. So we're attracting a lot of kids who are strong academic students who would love to go to a private school but don't have the money, or they are trying to invest their money properly. So, a state school is always in the playing field. And like I said, being that we're in such a great location, we do attract a lot of those students.
I can imagine. I mean, having those competitive academics, colleges within your school is probably very appealing to someone living in New York, because paying that state tuition, as we all know, these private schools are getting higher and higher from a cost standpoint. So just that alone, I'm sure you're catching parents' ears especially.
Yeah, definitely part of the selling point. Money speaks volumes. So, I preach my vision of the program and where I see it going, and then I also let them know, like, listen, if you want, you could get a degree that has some meaning behind it. Like, people are not just going to overlook the name Paltz in any job interview. This would be a good opportunity for you while also, getting the most bang for your buck. You go to a private school. At the end of your 4 years, you could be looking over, 150,000 that you had to pay back in loans. If you go to the state school, 80 is not a bad number. And if you get academic aid, that's even better. So,
Yeah.
people follow money, and they tend to look into a little bit more when there's a price tag that is reasonable within their budget.
Absolutely. And if they're graduating with that degree, I mean, that's all that really matters a lot of the time.
Exactly.
So over the course of the past year, where are you pulling your athletes from, your lacrosse players? Do you have a club team that can help fill your NCAA team, or are you starting from scratch?
We do have a club team. We have a couple of athletes there that are very interested in being a part of the team. Outside of them, we have, 15 incoming freshmen from a lot of them from the Long Island area, a few of them from the Albany area, a couple pulled from Syracuse, that area. A couple out-of-state students, which I was very excited about, just because, we want to try to attract as many out-of-state students as possible here. But for the most part, I'm going to be relying heavily on the incoming class, and we got a couple of transfers that, are going to help guide us from a leadership standpoint. But really it's going to be on the younger guys to kind of get the train moving in the right direction, because they're going to be the staple of this program. They're going to be the laying foundation of what we're building here. So, it's going to be great, and having, them coming from different places on Long Island or upstate New York. Hopefully they could do some recruiting on their own, telling their friends about the university and how much they love the area and stuff like that. And hopefully we can get more kids from, great programs here.
So your roster is predominantly freshmen and probably sophomores. What are your numbers looking like going into this spring? How many guys do you think you'll have on your roster?
Right now we have about 30 kids trying out for the first year. There's only 24 helmets, so they got to figure it out. They got to get on the field, and we got to figure out who's going to be the dominant players out there for us to help us, get through a tough, I can imagine, first year. But yeah, for the most part, we have 15 freshmen. We have about 5 transfers who are looking to try out, and about 10 club guys who are looking to fight for some spots as well. So the age range goes all over the place. The club guys are seniors and juniors, and the transfers are juniors and sophomores, and then obviously we have our freshman class. So we have a plethora of different levels of academic experience, but no lacrosse experience together. So that's something that we're going to be looking to work on tomorrow.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a bad thing to have a surplus, right? You said you have 24 helmets, you got 30 guys trying out. So essentially no one's safe.
No one's safe.
And that's not a bad thing, right? Everyone's got to come ready to work in the weight room, on the field, but also in the classroom. He can be a decent player, but if he's not passing his classes, that makes your job easy, I imagine.
Exactly. You put that pressure on people, and they either they go with it, they bend with it, or they crack. And I'm looking for those athletes who are going to be able to bend, so we can straighten them back out by the time spring comes, so we could have something stronger and better and faster. And competition in this world is everything. So the more pressure we can put on these kids, the better of an athlete we can build, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, that's awesome. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Iron Horse Lacrosse, the #1 lacrosse program in Texas for travel teams, camps, and clinics. For more information on Iron Horse, visit their website at www.ironhorselax.com. Your background, right? You've coached at Lincoln Memorial University, which is in Tennessee, and you also coached at Copeg High School, which was the high school you attended, correct?
Yep. So after graduating from Albany, 2013, went back home, was trying to figure out life. And, then my high school coach, Jim Conan, said it would be a good idea if I try to get in with Copeg staff and try to help out there. And they hired me, and I appreciate what they did because they kind of got my coaching career up, going in the right direction. I stayed there for a year, moved out to Tennessee, and I started working on my master's as a graduate assistant for them. I was also the offensive coordinator for a brand new Division II program. And it was pretty cool. We took our lumps in the beginning of my 4-year stint there. And by the end, we were one of the best teams or one of the better teams in Division II, which was, pretty exciting to be a part of.
That's awesome. So having that high school experience at Copeg and then coming to the college level, you don't see that very often. A lot of college coaches will most likely play in college and then start maybe as a volunteer assistant and then work their way as an assistant and eventually a head coach. So they're pretty far removed from their high school days. You right after school were able to coach at the high school level. How has that helped you at Lincoln Memorial and even now at New Paltz? How has it helped you maybe connect with the players or evaluate players when it comes to filling your rosters?
It definitely helped with my patience because we couldn't pass or catch at all at Copeg. Copeg doesn't have great tradition in lacrosse. And, I really wanted to go back to help out the program that got me going in this game that I love dearly. So what it did for me when I went down to Tennessee is just, when we started up the program, having such a young program or a young team, it helped me with that patience, making mistakes in practice and, being able to look through it and see the finer things and what they're trying to accomplish and getting the kids to understand that, like, mistakes happen in life. I'm big on, turning lacrosse lessons into life lessons because kids could relate to that. And by doing so, by, kind of teaching that way and grooming my athletes that way from an offensive standpoint, it helped us be one of the better offenses in the country when I was at Lincoln Memorial.
Have you had any experience coaching club lacrosse, like travel and select teams?
I always guest appeared
when you're at Copeg.
Yeah, I always guest appeared with teams that I had relationships with. The guys who ran the programs, but never really coached the club team up until this past year. Now I'm kind of helping out with New York Reign. It's not too far from the university, and the program director there, Jeremy, has done nothing but good things with the program and has treated me with nothing but love and respect. So that's my only experience, and I didn't really pull too much of my coaching experience from it. But I'm definitely looking forward to learning from the kids in the Hudson Valley area and kind of still growing as a coach.
Yeah, and I imagine just being in contact with those players, whether you're just guest appearing or you're actually coaching those teams, building those relationships, that'll only help you as a coach on the recruiting trail relating to players. You know what they're looking for. You know what the parents are looking for because that's why they're playing club lacrosse. They have the desire to play at that next level. And I think you have kind of a unique opportunity there to coach club lacrosse and run your college program. I mean, not only to recruit players into your program, but just to get a general understanding of what they really want and what they want to hear.
Exactly. I think more than anything, players and parents, they want their kid to feel like they're going to be safe. Like if they're going to be looked after, I'm a big believer, it takes community to raise a child. And, a parent wouldn't want to pass off their precious cargo to a coach who isn't going to take care of them the right way. And I try to communicate that as much as I can to the recruitment process. So, I could land those, kids that could possibly go low end D1 or, get money D2. No, you come to play for me and, I'll treat you right. I'll make sure everything is sound with you so we could get you in and out of school in the right amount of time. And we're going to have fun doing what we're doing. People do buy into that. So that's how I kind of like to sell my program as well.
Yeah. So right now you have a million things going on as you're starting up this program, and you're having your first lift fall ball practices coming up here. However, you're not even close to being done with recruiting because you need to fill another big class next year, I assume, and then the year after. So how do you kind of manage your time, and how do you lay out your fall to make sure you're at the correct events and you're doing the right things to fill your roster in the future?
Well, I put a lot of pressure on my assistant, Bill Nizer, who played for me down in Tennessee, and then he wanted to be a part of my staff. I pass a lot of work off to him, and he does it, 100 miles per hour, and he does it correct. So like, having him a part of what I'm trying to build here has definitely helped in the learning curve of becoming a head coach and being on top of my stuff and recruiting and then admin work. And, there's a lot, like you said, that goes into this, but having somebody that is mature and experienced enough to help me through these, hiccups or, these obstacles is everything that I need right now. So, even though I do have a lot on my plate, I do have help, and I'm the type of person who will reach out for help if I ever needed it. And he's the first person to kind of take that under his wing or take that under his belt and do it to his fullest potential.
Does he hit the road more than you do?
We're going to share the workload, being that we are working with New York Reign. We're going to be at recruitment events, and when we're not coaching, we'll be recruiting. But there are a bunch of other events that we're going to be getting to outside of that. There's one at Farmingdale State that's always good, November 16th. There's a couple other that we're looking to attend. That we're still trying to get on the calendar, but we're both going to be hitting the road equally. I think it's very important for us, being a young program, that we get out and we show the MP brand, the new Paltz brand. So as much as we can, we're going to hit up every spot or every single state in this Northeast region so we could get out in front of these kids and their families.
Yeah. So as you guys divide and conquer, right? How do you relay to your assistant that he's, to make sure he's recruiting what you want as well?
I honestly,
what do those conversations look like?
I really don't have to do much with that. Like I said, he played for me for
That's
4
nice.
years. Yeah, he played for me, and listen,
so he knows what you want. That helps. I'm sure.
100%. I don't even have to say too much. Like he knows what I want. He knows what I see. He thinks just like me. So it's more about just him getting out there and dominating, just like how we did together down in Tennessee, and that's what he's good at.
Do you have any unique attributes about you from a recruiting standpoint? Is there some things you look for that you think maybe the bulk of college coaches don't necessarily maybe care about or even realize?
No, I just try to find one thing that any prospective athlete does well, and then I try to paint the picture on what we can do with that. So if a kid is very good physically and he gets into people, well, what are the angles that he's shooting from? Is he looking to play with his body and roll off of that pressure? Is he looking to, increase his elusiveness so he could have multiple things that he could throw at his one-on-one matchup? Those are things that I think about. It really doesn't have anything to do with, if they're big or if they're small and quick. It has more to do with, you have a certain skill that we could work with, and what can we do to continue to improve or enhance what you don't do well, So, and then most important thing is getting in front of them, getting them to campus and talking with them and seeing what their mentality is like. If they have a defeated mentality, those are kids that we don't want. But if they have, an energy about them that you could feel, those are kids that I want. Those are kids that I could work with, because they're motivated on their own, and that's very hard to come by nowadays.
Yeah, and I love the point that you bring up. You're not just looking for the big, strong guys or the small, quick guys, because you look at even a PLL team lineup. Not every person will be able to say, oh, that's a professional lacrosse team, right? You got guys that, they do look like a pro athlete, but then you got other guys that maybe not so much, right? Because it is a skill sport.
Right.
And, you need to hone in your craft, and guys that maybe wouldn't be a college player in any other sport could still be an impact player in lacrosse because he has honed in his craft.
For sure.
So that probably makes it hard from a recruiting standpoint too, because you don't want to judge a player just by looking at him. You want to see, okay, yeah, he may not look like he fits the mold, but let's see how he does.
Listen, a pit bull is one of the smallest dogs out there, but pit bull is also the most vicious dog, and they win a lot of fights, and that's what I care more about. I care about the mentality. I don't care about anything else. You could be as big or as small as you want. You could be as skinny or as round as you want to be. I don't care about that. You have the skill that we could work with. You have that mentality of, I'm going to beat you at whatever we're doing. I want you. We could work with that.
That's awesome. So to kind of wrap up here, Dwayne, if there's a high school kid listening to this podcast, just with all your experience playing at Albany, coaching at Copeg High School, coaching at Lincoln Memorial University, and now starting a program at New Paltz, what is the number one thing that a player looking to play in college, not only play, but maybe be an impact player in college, should be focused on in high school? And it can be 2 or 3 things, but what are the big things they should be focused on?
More than anything, academics. Focus on the academics. This game is all about IQ. If you could retain and regurgitate, memory quickly, you can learn sets really fast. You could, you don't have the coach repeating himself over and over again, because you have that ability to retain memory. That's big. And then start working on, little things. If you're big, work on, get in the gym and get strong. If you're small, get on a ladder and get quick. You're quicker than you are. Use what you have as an advantage for yourself. And then outside of that, I'm not sure how any other coach take you, but I see what you got. I like what you got. I get you here. I'm just going to build on it. I'm just going to put you through the development process and hopefully build a better version of that athlete. And, that's the way I kind of work, and hopefully, that can lead to some success, moving into this first year.
Yeah. And you mentioned IQ as number one. And I think that's a huge piece that kind of gets overlooked. People think you need to be big, fast, strong, and can shoot the ball 100 miles per hour both hands. But if you don't really understand the game and understand what the coach wants and understand what the team's trying to accomplish, not as one player, but as a team, then it's hard for you to fit in a system. And as a high school coach and a club coach, I found that that's a very hard thing to teach, is the IQ. But you bring up a good point where, hey, if you're killing it in the classroom, your chances are probably a lot better of having a higher IQ on the lacrosse field, if you're doing both.
If you break it down,
that's interesting.
Yeah, if you break it down, lacrosse is all about finding the 2-on-1, right? You have if it's man up, man down, 6-on-5, you move the ball quick enough, you move the ball with pace, you'll be able to find a 2-on-1 somewhere. So take advantage of it. And once you do that from an offensive standpoint, and the kids can understand how to manipulate the defense to find a 2-on-1, then you can take advantage. Like I said, defense, it's all about playing this rough-in game, right? To me, it's really about taking away the middle of the field and forcing an outside shot. And those are little things, like little IQ things that kids understand. It's like simple. And once they understand that, then you can start putting more complex things into there. Like, movement into finding the 2-on-1, from an offensive standpoint. Defense, pressing out. And then once the ball is moved, like, the backside stuff's in, and you can take advantages away in the middle of the field. Little things like that, kids start to pick it up. And once they start to figure those things out, you can find some success, So IQ is everything. And any coach will say that, and I'm going to preach it until I can't speak anymore. But it's very big. It's going to be one of the one things that I'm going to be preaching every single day to my guys, and hopefully we could pick it up from year one and run with it.
I love it. Coach Dwayne Stewart, once again, thank you for coming on. Obviously, best of luck in your inaugural season here in spring 2020.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Luke. If you ever want me on this again, just let me know. I'm one ring away.
Of course. We'll have you back soon, man.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Lacrosse Recruiting 101. Catch us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Have a question for Luke? Email them to questions@lacrosserecruiting101.com.